Okay, ladies, I have a question for you. And the question is, what do you think emotional intelligence really is? I was digging into this and I had a conversation with a couple of people. And one person said they thought it was the ability to be able to pivot from bad feelings to good feelings, the ability to quickly get out of that mode and into another. The other person said, well, I think emotional maturity means that you know how to handle your emotions, meaning that you know how to suppress things, you know how to behave with those emotions in public, you know how to navigate those emotions. I think emotional intelligence is the ability to feel all of your emotions, regardless of what they are. What's your thoughts?
Can you say them again? Huh. So how is that intelligent though? Being able to feel
Because I think it requires the intelligence for me comes in the fact that recognizing that it is an emotion. It is an emotion that I can sit with, that I can allow to actually be in my body, and it is not an external event.
okay.
The ability to process, especially, negative emotions, I think requires a degree of intelligence that allows me to tell myself that I will get through this. I am safe and I can feel this. So whether it's shame, grief, guilt,
Anger.
any of those, so-called negative emotions, it is just an emotion. And if I allow my body to feel that sensation, it will be processed and leave me much quicker than if I try to repress it and hold it in. That's when that stuff hangs around forever for me.
Okay, so this isn't the same, but might be. When I was in my 20s, and I still remember this to the day, and I got cut off by this mature man in the alley or something. And I just freaked out. I was just like, who do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And he just looked at me and he just had this calm look, waited for me to do my thing, and then just drove off. And I always remember it. And I went, man, that was cool. That was awesome that he did not react. He just went, just another day, paradise type thing, and didn't allow that, and I know this was external, but didn't allow me going off, just going like crazy off, not like, hey, didn't allow it to affect him. And I always took that. I went, I got to do that. I got to be able to be, and that's why I'm bringing it back to emotional intelligence, that I go, things I don't need to react in certain ways just because things happen. Maybe
Yeah.
as a
I
tie-in.
mean, that man's ability to stay in wherever he was emotionally and to not, I mean, we obviously can't, we don't know what was going on with him, so we don't know if he was fuming or whatever, but the
Right.
appearance was that he was just simply sitting there thinking, I'll wait till you're done and then I'm
Yeah.
going to leave.
Yeah. I felt like a child afterwards. I felt
Mhm.
like a child. I was like, oh, I just had a temper tantrum. And the parent just said, okay, you're done, and walked away or drove away.
So, but what's important about that is could you actually feel that?
From him?
No, your feeling of I feel like a kid. I feel like I've just had a temper tantrum. This isn't how I want to handle this. Are you suppressing that, or are you going, okay, this is what this feels like. Wow. This is
Well,
what all of this sensation is taking place in my body.
for that incident, I it was totally immediately reflected on it. Immediately it went, I want to be that guy. I don't want stupid little things to be setting me off. And it was just, it was like I said, it was so long ago. And I that thought comes into me anytime I'm driving that I kind of get a little, I go, hey, really? Really? And so that to me is my
So
maturity.
letting go of that initial irritation, the initial wanting to lash out irrationally at somebody,
Yeah, that's what
that
it was.
that yeah. That whole thing, it's letting that go. Like that's emotional intelligence, to be able just to go, "Oh, this is what I recognize, and I don't need to have that right now. I know what that feels like. I've already processed that, and
Right.
it's something that I don't want to experience."
Hmm.
What do you think, Michelle?
I'm just enjoying this conversation. Um, I think it is like a combination of a lot of things. When I think of emotional maturity, emotional intelligence is you have the ability to feel your emotions. Meaning, if you, so Tracy, when you just gave your two incidences, I look at both of those as emotional freedom. So you at that point felt this need, you just had this emotion that took over you and you voiced it. That gentleman had the need of probably in his mind saying, this lady's having one hell of a bad day. I'm just going to let her go. I'm going to go on with life. You both had this emotional aspects of it. I think sometimes we are brought up, we have this generational training of um, don't cry. You shouldn't feel bad about that. Like, like we're told as kids or women or boys how we should be having our emotions. Don't cry at this. Don't sass back at that. Don't be too bossy. Don't be like this. Don't be this. Don't be that. When you're just legitimately have an emotion. And if we're taught how to not even deal with the emotion, how to feel the emotion, like Tracy E said, and then it goes and it's released. You have said, Tracy G, you said it, you've done it. Now, as you have matured in life, you see that like somebody will cut you off and you'll be like, I, oh, that's not even worth it anymore. Like it's not even worth to have that anger, whatever it is, frustration, that whole thing. So I think emotional intelligence, maturity is giving yourself permission to have the emotion, not to wallow in the emotion, to deal with it, have it as long as you need it, but then to learn to release it as you have to. We talked about negative ones, and then move on with life. I think that is giving yourself permission to feel your emotions.
So I wasn't having a bad day. And I
Okay.
realized as I was freaking out that this guy to me had emotional intelligence because I don't want to publicly, I like before in the past I wouldn't have cried, all of those emotions. And if I'm upset because you've done me wrong legitimately, then I
Yep.
feel that publicly I can express my emotions. And so yes, I
Yep.
feel that's emotional intelligence, but I also
Right.
think it is reining in some of these emotions that really you shouldn't, like there was no need for my reaction, no need whatsoever. And that's where I go, emotional intelligence is right in the moment, as I'm freaking out, I'm realizing that I'm freaking out. The intelligence was,
Yep.
oh my God, you're not doing this again, Tracy.
Mhm.
Don't be that person. And that to me
Yes.
was my emotional
But
intelligence.
is that, was that, do you think that you felt that way because the guy did not respond back? Or if he had started yelling and screaming at you, do you think that the whole thing just would have escalated?
Well, first of all, it was a long time ago, so people didn't have road rage at that time.
Right.
Maybe I started it. Um, I think I was just a 20-year-old that thought I was all that and that
Mhm.
who do you think you are? Who do you
Mhm.
think you are?
Mhm.
And I just think I was one of those girls.
Mhm.
And that's why I
Yeah.
immediately recognized was like, who do you think you are? Like, this guy's driving,
Yep.
you're driving. Why couldn't it have just been like, hey, sorry, or hey, sorry?
Right.
If I really think back, he probably had the right of way. Like, who knows, right? And that's what I
Right.
mean, right? Like, maybe I went, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that," and then freaked out on him, right? I can't remember the details. I
Yeah.
just remember the emotion. And I remember being like, like I was just so embarrassed on my
Right.
part. So embarrassed.
But I really think of what Michelle, what you said is really, really accurate. Like the whole generational thing of being told how to feel in certain situations
Mhm,
and to suppress your feelings and don't show those
Hmm.
feelings that we have been given, and therefore we actually as adults don't necessarily understand or know how to process that because we're afraid of what that will actually look like or what the outcome will be. How brilliant would it be if we were to take my grandson's generation
mhm,
and say, listen, it's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel frustration. It's a feeling in your body. It will pass. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about
Right.
what frustration feels like. What do you do now with that?
don't you think that's happening now though? Like,
Yes,
Yes.
it is. Yes, it
like
is.
in the past, like when we grew up, men, like a man crying was like the
Oh,
worst, it was, and it's like, really? You're not allowed to cry? No, because you're a man. And how terrible is that?
even some women.
Yeah, but I just
Yeah.
mean like it was very focused on the male
Yeah.
generation, which I think now they're allowed to, I think.
But I mean, that is such a
Yeah.
good thing because how difficult is it if you've been told not to cry your whole life, pretty much? How difficult is it and how unsafe do you feel when you have that emotion show up? Like
Hmm.
all these men out there that, something terrible happens and they want to cry, and yet they don't feel like they have that outlet, and then everything stays inside. Like that, just from a health standpoint, that
Yeah.
can't be good. You know, how much more freeing and how much more capable would you be if you knew how to feel that emotion so that you knew what to do with that emotion?
And I think that's it. I don't always feel just like Tracy G was saying. Maybe, I didn't need to be that loud and boisterous and yelling at this person. I do think there's a way we have to be able to feel our emotions, but we always don't have permission. I think we have to be cautious not to always have permission to just like, well, I'm having a bad day, so I'm going to be rude today.
Mm.
I think there's this fine line we walk sometimes that we have to understand the feeling of our emotion, but then understand how to process it and deal with it and have those conversations if you're angry with somebody, and to if you're feeling sad, to have that conversation, and scared or whatever that emotion is. um but I think it's not only feeling it, but we also have to be comfortable to understand how to work through that emotion.
Sometimes I'm a little slow on the, but I just kind of got what we're talking about. And I get what you're saying now is that if you suppress any emotion, you never learn how to deal with it. And so, even though that moment was anger, it taught me maybe in that instance how to deal with it. So, whatever emotion, and most likely on the negative side, if you're not being allowed to show it, how will you
Hmm.
ever learn how to control it? Is that a
Yeah,
control?
Yeah,
it's not
or
even, yeah, well,
just
it
experience it
can
to
be
go, wow, this is what intense
right.
sadness feels like for me. Because I mean, we all
Yeah.
experience things differently, right? But to
Right.
go, this is what intense sadness, or this is what grief feels like, this is what crying feels like, but it's okay. Like, nothing's going to happen to me by experiencing it. To
But do you
give
learn from
yourself
it?
this
Do you
thing,
go and do you take that and you go, this is what grief feels like? And
Right.
so now I know the deep, dark depths of grief, and this is how I get through
yeah.
it for the next time?
Well, I
Or the
mean,
next time's going to be different because you're a
the next
different
time it
Oh,
person.
shows up, it's like, okay, yeah,
right.
this is, I've felt this. I know what this is. I can just feel it in my body. It's okay. Nothing bad is going to happen to me. Like we
Yeah.
are taught that emotions are bad and something, it's like you're taught as a little kid, don't do this. You don't, this is not how you are going to feel about this situation. You don't
Mm.
cry. You don't do this. And it's like, okay, well, there obviously is something really bad on the opposite side of that if I do it. So God, don't do it, right? Otherwise, why would I be told not
Yep.
to do it? And even though that might
Right.
not be a conscious thing
Mhm.
when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, to go, wow, I really have a hard time crying. Like this is really super difficult for me. And
Right.
I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of this emotion. Instead of going, okay, this is what this is going to feel like. I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to experience it in my body. And I know nothing bad is going to happen to me.
Okay, so I have a question.
Hmm.
Little kid's going to go on stage for his recital.
Mhm.
Super nervous. So what do
Super
we
nervous.
say? We go, don't be
Hmm.
nervous, right?
Right. How stupid is that?
Right.
Instead of going, oh, like
Yeah, you know
embrace your
what?
nervousness.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what you would say, but it's kind of
Well,
like that's the perfect, to me, example in my head that I
yeah,
connect that you've just told this young, mind is developing not to experience that emotion, and you're
Yeah,
gonna experience it no matter what, whether anyone tells you
exactly.
not to.
right.
So then they,
Right.
then they start thinking there's something wrong with them because they are experiencing that emotion. So
Yeah.
not only are we taking the ability away for them to go, yeah, this is what nervousness feels like. It can also be excitement. You
Hmm.
got these feelings happening inside your body. Everybody
Yep.
does. Like everybody
Right.
feels the same way. To bring into community what that's like, instead of saying, don't do this, don't feel this way. And the poor little bugger is sitting there going, well, I feel this anyways. Now what do I do? I can't talk to you
Exactly.
about it, obviously. What do I
There's
do?
something wrong with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's something wrong with me. And there isn't. There's nothing wrong with them. But you're right. Exactly. Like,
So
don't cry.
emotional
Why are you crying?
intelligence is what then to you again, Tracy, just so I can hear it. You said it was being able to show your emotions in public.
no, not necessarily. It doesn't, I mean, you get to decide what to do it. It's the ability to say, I am going to feel all emotions.
Okay.
I'm not going to be hijacked by my emotions, starting to feel something and going, oh God, this is a bad one. Push this one down because I'm not going there. I'm not feeling that
Okay.
because I don't know what to do with it. Because once I can actually feel it and have it go through my body, then I will know what that experience is. And how much more richer can your life be if you experience all emotions instead of segregating some and going, well, I'm only going to feel that and I'm only going to feel that.
Yep.
And I'm going to keep the other ones at bay.
Yep. Yep.
I'm buying what you're selling there, Tracy. I'm buying
Okay,
what
good.
you're selling. It took me a couple of steps, but I got it.
Hey, you know what? It's a difficult conversation because we don't, again, how often do you sit there and talk about emotions?
Yeah. Other than saying stop it.
Yes, don't feel that. Don't go there, right?
Right.
But I mean, even the good stuff, right? Because and this is what's so interesting because good emotions tend to go through us very quickly, right? You experience happiness in the moment, and it's like it doesn't stay there for hours. Usually, that intense level of happiness doesn't stay there for hours. It comes and it rises up and then it kind of dissipates because you've experienced it. You've let your body feel it and now it's gone. But when you're repressing, trying to repress nervousness, it's like a train just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're, ooh, I can't. Instead of going, yeah,
Hmm.
oh, I'm nervous. Wow. This is what this feels like. And then it will go.
You should have a kids program, Tracy. Get them when they're starting young.
Well, I mean, even now, like I talk to Avery much differently than I talk to my daughter,
Mm.
you know. Like, I talk to my daughter in terms of behavioral things, whereas with Avery, I'm like, do you feel frustrated right now? It's hard when we feel frustrated, isn't it? It's okay. It's okay to feel frustrated.
Yep.
And he just kind of experiences it and then okay, we're good, we're on to
Yeah.
whatever. It's okay to feel disappointment, instead of being told don't feel
Hmm.
disappointed, don't you be disappointed by this.
Mhm.
it's i think I
Yep.
think it's and even now as adults we have that opportunity to do that with each other, when something happens in our life where we are frustrated to go, wow, this is frustrating, isn't it? My God.
Yeah. It's scary. Feel the emotion, feel
Yes,
whatever it is. It's
exactly.
okay to feel it. Like, even I think at times we feel we have to be stoic,
Mhm.
stoic. And I am that type of person. I am that type of person because I need to feel comfortable about who I'm around. So I don't just allow my feelings to fall out wherever they are. But I do make sure I have a support team that when I am feeling certain things, that I have somebody to have a conversation with.
Yeah.
So I don't think we always do that. I don't think when we feel an emotion, I think sometimes we just think you're alone in the situation. And sometimes you don't have to be alone in the situation. Um, I know you ladies have helped me through times when I was going through my cancer treatments a couple of years ago. We would just have off the camera conversations of me being scared or just things I was going through. But it wasn't something that I would just publicly like wear on my sleeve on that. And
Mhm.
again, some of that was taught. I watched my mother suffer with cancer or have cancer or fought cancer for 19 years. And I watched this woman in pain for 19 years. And if you were to walk by and see her, you would have never known. She never, that's, but it was a double-edged sword
Yeah.
because I think when she felt fear and felt things, it took her a long time before she broke down to me because she didn't have that type of support. My stepdad wasn't that type of a uh, support system for her. But then I saw how strong she was, that it taught me to I don't know if it's like, don't give in to your situations. Like, yes, you have cancer, but you have so many other blessings in your life.
Mhm.
So I think it comes down to also, you don't always have to just keep your emotion to yourself. You have to have some form of a support system to share some of these emotions with.
And that actually can help process those. And
Yes,
by I am not suggesting that we all just, whenever it is that you feel, you just let it out and like let her go. I'm not suggesting that at all. What I am
right,
suggesting though is that you do have an opportunity to revisit that. And yes, that emotion is going to come back. When you
right,
revisit that situation, you are going to feel that same emotion. And that's when you can have that conversation with whoever your support person is to say, man, oh man, like the frustration I felt. And then let it happen. Let that frustration actually be there.
right,
Talk through what that feels like. And, I don't, like, I don't want to feel like this the next time I'm in that situation. I'm not going to do
right,
it. Like that guy had a huge
right.
impact on you, Tracy.
Oh, he totally did.
Yeah,
Totally did.
yeah, yep. You
I
should
mean,
try to find
You
them.
see, you never know how you impact a person.
seriously, you don't, yeah, you know what? Like honestly, and that's so true, right?
Yep,
Like you like your mom being, stoic and
yep,
not
Yeah.
showing things. It was like, okay, that wow. If something ever happens to
yep,
me, I want to be that person.
right. And
And
that
there's
was
nothing
good and
wrong with
bad.
that either, right? Like there's nothing wrong
No,
with that. But
no, there
it's when
isn't.
we try to deny everything else that's going on within us in order to be that. You can be that so much easier
Yep,
when you acknowledge what's actually happening inside you.
exactly. Exactly. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Hmm.
I really liked it. So, to you, viewer, what do you struggle with your emotions? What are some of the things that you like when to share them, when not to share them, how to feel different things? Because if you are somebody, as I was talking about with my mom, like my mom really didn't share with me, and it wasn't just it was her comfort level. It was a place in our relationship where she felt very comfortable sharing parts of her cancer with me. If you like, how do you need help working through your emotions? Put them down in the comments. If you feel this episode needs to would help somebody else, make sure you share it. If you felt this episode resonated with you, please hit the like button and don't forget to hit notifications so you know when our next episode is coming out. Until next time.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.